Okay, just finished the combat phase on turn 5 with the Russians here. Created a large pocket of Latvians and a couple Germans here and there. What I did was just strung my armor along the rear of the Panther line here, joined in an attack on some weaker positions in the Latvian line here to cut this off, seal this off. So now we've got an entire, a few steps in there. Five stacks, plus a deeply entrenched infantry division here. We ended up killing another that was in the open from retreat earlier. It was a final step. This unit still is in the Panther line defenses, so decided to just leave it and hopefully it'll suffer attrition. We did make an attempt on Apachka here with the headquarters and I think a border battalion from the Latvians. Major city hex though, I didn't really consider that before the attack, so I was attacking with armored units. It was pretty much a 1-to-1 attack, and I ended up taking a step loss and had to take an option as retreat. Better success story was here. We've eliminated a German headquarters, had to take an option, which is fine though. We killed the headquarters and just took our option as retreat and created this corridor for that infantry. That's a nice byproduct of that. So this is bad. The Germans will likely roll for breakout for a lot of these units here. This could have been, again, worse, though. I think the Germans will be able to pull back a little bit. They have they have that headquarters still, so maybe they can pull that into the rear and maybe get a double turn to try and clean up here. Just been flat-footed the whole game with the Germans so far. But this is bad, but I think it could have been worse. So it's going to be tough to fortify here, but we have these units here that might be able to do something. Again, a double turn would be sensational. We might be able to supply here. Actually, I think they might be getting supply from off camera here, but we'll go take a look to the south and see what the situation looks like there. It's a little bit better than this, I would say. Well, maybe not. We have reserve movement yet, so here we are in the south. Eliminated that pesky anti-aircraft battalion that was giving me so much trouble. DG'd and forced back the German units here. Again, another combat in this clear hex, forcing the Germans back. Just forcing them back everywhere, really. Our supply is going to catch up to us soon. There's a headquarters in one of these hexes here. I think it's in this one. So we have a decent throw range. Next turn, the Russians will get hex E there as a supply source as well. So the drive will continue. But as you can see, I have some forces in reserve here. So I'm going to work on that right now. And I think we may be able to capture Merj and Utena on this turn, giving us 2 more pop points, which would put us to the needed 6 to not give the Germans a victory point on this turn. Alright, let's see what we can do. I wish we had gotten Apachka. Would have gained another victory point as the Russians, so the Germans are happy about that, but they might not be happy in a minute here. And the Russians have succeeded in capturing Utena and Merj. Traded options here, but no problem. Gave us the point and just drove into Merj for a free pop point. There you go. We'll take a look actually down near Polotsk here. I actually sacrificed any sort of action here to send the supply up towards the Daugavpils area there. Good decision, I think. It holds the German forces in place, needing to meet us here. They can extricate themselves now if they wish. That's probably a good idea, but we've been attacking across the river. Probably wouldn't have had any great successes. I've sent a lot of our mobile forces already upward anyways, so no real opportunity for exploit. The Germans can flip to combat mode now and react to the disaster that they are facing. It's going to be tough. I just can't seem to get a footing as the Germans. Their air force is being annihilated. I just can't, there's just not enough force to react with. I could maybe have used some of these artillery in the rear and brought them up to these positions, but I've been losing artillery fairly quickly as well, so at least I have something left back there. The lack of depth of forces means those artillery likely would have just been in the rear areas here, open to attack, like that anti-tank battalion. So, yeah, be interesting to see how the Germans can react. But wow, hell of a game. I feel like I'm playing the Soviets really well. The Germans, really, really difficult. Probably one of the hardest things I've had to do, and I don't think I'm doing it well either. But yeah, like playing the Germans in this and playing the Germans in the Blitzkrieg Legend are different type of difficulty, but difficult nonetheless. So, all right, on to the German turn, or German half of the turn, that is. Okay, so here we are, turn 5 after German movement. Only one combat to do and no barrages, so it'll be pretty straightforward. Managed to throw a couple units in here into these hedgehogs that I had been building to hopefully prevent any Russian drives through these positions. It's not substantial, but certainly something, and we're trying to get a couple more units out there, so hopefully the Germans want a double turn here, even if it means the Russians have the potential for another in the future. Need to strengthen our positions and pull back a little bit further, I think. In the center here, where we were pocketed, we rolled for breakout for all of those units. If you roll for breakout at your first opportunity, you get an increased chance. It's a +1 to the die roll, and any requirements to break out are discarded for the first turn in which you're out of supply. So attempted to break out with 5 units. 2 Latvians died outright. Another Latvian division will be back in 4 turns, and 2 German units, including an entire infantry division, will be back next turn. And we also got an anti-tank gun battalion coming back next turn. So breakout successful. I think that was probably the best we could hope for in that situation. Only ended up losing 2 units really. So if you look over to here near the Idritsa Apachka area, we managed to get our Latvian headquarters into this position here, so it's alive somehow still. A few Latvian troops are in this area as well. Germans have just pulled back. There's a river line here. We're fortified in a couple of these hexes with hedgehogs. Not strong positions, but if we can get that double turn, then we may be able to but build a decent delaying force here as we try and pull back in order. That front hasn't been touched. That section of the front hasn't been touched yet, other than the Latvians that were messed around with in the center here. So over near the Polotsk area, we've just tried to pull back. Didn't feel safe with all the space in behind us here, so we're just trying to slowly peel our way back towards more fortifiable positions here, and slowly work our way back towards Dogov Pills. Dogov Pills, you can see there, is in decent shape. We'll move a little closer here. If I can put this camera down somewhere without hitting everything. Alright. Hit a Russian headquarters here. So you can see we've kind of fortified around the outside of the river line there. I have a full strength infantry division in Dogov Pills, so tough not to crack. Infantry divisions outside. We also have some reserve armor in here to do any potential overruns if possible. If our air force is active, and which is not likely, we could hip shot and attempt to do an overrun with some reserves we have in there. So some 2 AR-5s, Tiger tanks, and an SS Recon battalion. Nothing special really. And the rest of the front, DG'd tank battalion there. So the Air Force did something. And we're going to make an attempt at recapturing Gukmerj and earning a victory point for ourselves here. It's going to be a 2-to-1 attack, but at even action rating. So we may as well do it. That unit is pretty much hung up to dry anyway, so I'll do that and we'll check in with the initiative roll. So we attacked that DG unit there. The attack succeeded in killing it, but the attacker had to take an option, so we could not actually capture it back. So the victory point is not earned on this turn here. And I'm going to roll for initiative now. And the Germans would very much like the initiative. And I don't think the Russians would be too bothered if they did get it. So, alright, so we'll roll here. The Russians on the reds. And the Russians roll 12. Oops, let's get it in the picture here. The Russians roll 12 and the Germans roll an 11. Oh, that's one to think about. The Russians may... I don't know. We may let the Germans go. I'm not sure what more we could do. Well, I don't know. I'm going to think about this. Yeah, it's a tough one. So check in again in a few, and once I've thought this through. And yeah, okay. I'm just rambling now. Something I missed here. This German infantry division is still holding out. It survived, I think, 2 or 3 attrition rolls already so far. So holding that key rail line hex as well. I haven't had the supply here to attack it, really. The Russians may on their next opportunity, if it's still standing, but what else? So, I believe the Russians are going to allow the Germans to go first on turn 6. It's a tough choice. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong in making that decision. Yeah, it is really difficult, but I think, if anything, the Germans will continue to give ground here and here, and any moves we could have done here without the threat of a double turn looming, the Germans may have been able to wiggle their way out of anyways. I think the Russians want to maintain that threat of a double turn. I think you can't understate the importance of that. And the Germans will have to keep that in mind during their moves, as well as to counting the distances from where the Russians could probably get with this force. Because if they had a double turn, they could probably go quite a distance. Yeah, I may be wrong in this, but I think in the interest of the game anyways, it'll extend the game. So that's one thing on my mind. And I just don't think the Russians can do as much as they would like to in a single turn instead of a possible double turn scenario. So turn 6 about to start then, and the Germans will go first. Okay, German movement completed for turn 6. Nothing major really. Just some small restructuring, flipping units to their combat side. Have a bit of a weak screening force here. Near Adritsa, holding that river line. It's not going to hold, but we figured better option to do that than to have the Russians storm over straight over the river to these positions in clear terrain. So again, just building some more defensive lines. Not greatly defended though, so just a delaying action really. Dog of Pills looks fairly strong, and just building some defenses along the river line as well as a screening force further west. Nothing that's going to stop this. Speaking of this, the reinforcements coming in this turn for the Russians are very impressive again. So turn 6 reinforcements here. We've got this coming in far over to the north here. Some more aircraft, which will likely support the north. 5th Tank Corps in the center with some infantry and artillery. And then we'll take a look here. Joining the hordes driving west, we have 19th Tank Corps and 3rd Mechanized Corps, and 2 stacks of assorted artillery, infantry, and armor, and another headquarters. So if you thought this was substantial already, it's about to get, well, probably twice as large. Into this just clear, vast wilderness that we have in front of us here. So pressure's going to mount on Dog of Pills, and we're just going to keep pushing towards Riga and towards Germany. So, alright, time to do the Russian turn. Turn 6 is in the bag for the Russians. We needed 3 pop points to fend off the Germans from getting a victory point in this turn here. They were Ukmerj, Idritsa, and Opochka in the center here. So we had plans in place to capture all three. We succeeded in capturing Ukmerj. We've made a good breakthrough here with the 5th Tank Corps and captured Idritsa under there. And then over here, these Latvians somehow held out. That is the only unit in that hex. That was also one of the strongest attacks I had put forward. That Latvian border guard survived an aircraft barrage, an artillery barrage, and a follow-up aircraft barrage in the exploit phase, as well as surviving an attack from 3 adjacent move mode infantry divisions. Earned surprise on that roll. I think 5 shifts at these 2 infantry divisions either side here. Had to take a step loss. The goal was hopefully DG it in exploit. We moved a couple tanks next to it. They would have been halved attacking into the city, but we're hoping we could have pushed it out, but we failed that DG as well and decided not to pursue the attack. So, So that means that the Germans actually are going to earn a victory point, as we were only at 7 pop points. Brings the Russians total down to 1, and we need, I believe, 10 or 12 for the next? 10 for the next turn, so we should get to 8 there, no problem. But then where are the Russians going to get the other 2 is another question. I would say Sebez right here. Should be easy, especially with a double turn. Double turn is going to make a big deal again. That would be 2 there. Currently at 7, so we would need 1 more somewhere. Griva is a possibility. Maybe there. There's some undefended ones out here as well. So that actually looks fairly doable for the Russians. So I'm going to roll for initiative here and see what's going to happen on turn 7. Okay, let's get the dice tower here. Alright. Maybe if I grab the right color dice, that would help. Okay, there we go. So, Germans on the whites. And the Germans win initiative and they will take it. They would have passed it, I think, if it wasn't for this. But this actually isn't great either. Yeah, Germans are going to go. Alright, turn 7.